Hi, I'm Kristin Omdahl and welcome back to my studio. In this video, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks for making the beautiful Astral cardigan vest. This beautiful and shapely vest offers a generous length. It is crocheted from the bottom up in one piece. The floral collar is worked right along the side edge of the vest and adds a lot of feminine flair. Personalize Astral by adding bead embellishments to the center of the flowers or add buttons or a belt for a fitted look. When you get your pattern, you can either download this pattern individually or it's available in my Layers Crochet ebook and paperback book. You will want to go through the pattern and take a look at the different sizes available, check out what type of materials you're going to need. We used Be So Sporty yarn, which is my #2 sport weight 100% bamboo yarn in color Ice Silver Fox. You're going to want to check out the gauge. Make sure that you're coming close to gauge in order to ensure that you're making something that's going to fit you. So once you decide what size to make, you want to do your gauge swatch, make sure everything's right, and then you can get started. There's also a lengthy stitch guide in this pattern because there's a lot of complicated stitches that we'll be doing in here. So you want to check those out. Then you'll want to take a look at the schematic. And there's a lot of good reasons to take a look at the schematic. First of all, it shows you the dimensions of the different sizes. So if you're still unsure of what size to make, you would want to take a look at what parts of the pattern are different sizes. Also, it's very important to understand the concept of what we're seeing here. This is a bottom-up construction project. So you're starting along this lower edge and working in pattern upward to where we separate for right front, back, and left front. Each piece is worked right on to the lower body, and then once you fasten off all of this, it's these shoulder points that will get joined together, and it's still a seamless project. Pretty cool, huh? Then after that, we will do the floral collar, and I'll show you the beautiful stitch pattern we're doing there as well. Here's the chart for the stitch pattern for the lower body. Notice you'll need to understand what chain, double crochet, and double crochet 2 together looks like in order to read the chart. As you can see, the pattern starts with a chain and a setup row, and I've already done a few rows of the pattern here, but what I want to show you is the repeat for the rows 1 through 4 that will be repeating throughout the lower body and the upper body as well for this pattern. So row 1 begins with a chain 3. And then we'll turn our work. And we're going to skip the next stitch and double crochet in the next stitch, yarn over your hook, insert your hook in the stitch we just specified, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 2, then 5 double crochets in the next chain 3 space, chain 2, and over the next 5 stitch section, 5 double crochet section, we're going to work a double crochet 2 together in the 1st and 5th stitch. So it's yarn over your hook, insert your hook in the first of the 5, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We now have 2 loops on your hook, skip the next 3 stitches and yarn over, insert your hook in the 5th of the 5 double crochet section, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We now have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook, chain 2, and then 5 double crochets in the next chain 3 space. And you'll want to repeat this all the way across. Row we finish with a chain 2 and working a 2 double crochet together over the 1st and 3rd of the last 3 double crochets. The last one here was a chain 3 that counted as a double crochet, so you always want to work in the top 3rd chain of a chain 3 space. That would be the equivalent spot for working it as a double crochet. Okay, so row 2 begins with a chain 4, which counts as a double crochet chain 1, The first 3 chains are the double crochet, the next one's the chain 1. Turn our work and double crochet in the same stitch. Then we're going to work 1 double crochet over each of the next 5 double crochets. And next we're going to do a double crochet, chain 3 double crochet in the space below the double crochet 2 together on the previous row. So see how it's like an upside down V, and you want to work into this larger space here. So we're going to yarn over our hook, insert our hook in that space below the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. There's our first double crochet. It's double crochet, chain 3 double crochet in that space. So we'll do our second double crochet in it as well. There we go, and you can see how it's in that space under the stitch, not in the actual stitch. Just gives us a tighter, kind of like an X design in the middle there. I like it. And we're going to repeat this all the way across the row. Row 2 ends with a double crochet, chain 1 double crochet in the last stitch. Well, the last stitch was a chain 3 that counted as the double crochet, so you want to work into that top 3rd chain. So it's yarn over, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet in that same stitch. And that's what the end of row 2 looks like. Row 3 begins with a chain 3, counts as a double crochet, and turn our work. And we're going to work 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space on the row below. Chain 2, and we'll work a double crochet 2 together over the 1st and 5th stitch of this 5 double crochet section. Chain 2 and 5 double crochets in the next chain 3 space, and we'll repeat this all the way across. We end the row with a chain 2, 2 double crochets in the last chain 1 space, and 1 double crochet in the last stitch, which would be the 3rd chain of the chain 4, which counts as the double crochet position of it. Row 4 begins with a chain 3, and turn our work, 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to work a double crochet, chain 3 double crochet in the space centered below the double crochet 2 together on the previous row. So double crochet in that space, chain 3, and double crochet again in that same space. Notice we're not working into the stitch, but in the space below it. 1 double crochet into each of the next 5 double crochets. And repeat this across the entire row. And row 4 ends with 1 double crochet into each of the last 3 stitches. So you want to repeat rows 1 through 4 for the stitch pattern for the body and the upper body. Now, the one other thing I wanted to point out from the schematic is that there is some shaping, there is some decreasing, so that it's a little wider in the hips than it is in the bust. Just gives it a more flowy kind of a feel. And the way we do that is with some decreases. And I wanted to show you one of the decreases that's similar enough to the stitch pattern that it blends in well, but is not part of the stitch pattern, so it's something you'll want to know for making this pattern. And that's a double crochet 5 together. So let me just get to the next spot on this pattern. I'm going to work my way over to a 5 double crochet section so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, at some point in the decrease section of the pattern, you're going to be asked to do a double crochet 5 together, and I want to show you how to do that. It's yarn over your hook, insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We now have 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We now have 3 loops on our hook, and we've worked into 2 different stitches. We're going to repeat this for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Okay, so now we've worked into 5 separate stitches, and we have 6 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 6 loops on our hook, and that's what a double crochet 5 together looks like. When separating for the fronts and back, you're going to start with a much larger piece, which is the lower body, and I want to show you on the schematic where you'll be working. So you'll be, to work the right front, you'll work across just these few stitches and then work back and forth in pattern, and then fasten that piece off. Then you'll come back to the middle section of the pattern, and depending on what size you're making, this will all be spelled out in the pattern, but you're going to join your yarn again and work in pattern back and forth in rows for the back, then fasten off. And then for the left front, you'll join your yarn once again, work back and forth in those rows, and then fasten off. And so then you'll have all the pieces done, and you'll just be sewing that right front to the right side of the back and the left front to the left side of the back for the shoulder seams. The last portion that I wanted to show you is how we do these incredible cluster stitches for making the floral collar. So the beginning of the first row is to do a beginning double 3 double treble cluster, which has 2 petals, and we're going to start the first leg of it in the first stitch, skip the next 4 stitches, and work the second leg of it in that 5th stitch. So let me show you what that looks like. We're going to chain 5 and work 2 double treble cluster legs in that first stitch. Yarn over 3 times, insert your hook in the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, through 2, and through 2. We now have 2 loops on our hook. We'll do that one more time. We now have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to skip the next 4 stitches, and in that 5th stitch we're going to work 3 more legs of this cluster. So yarn over 3 times, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, through 2, and through 2, and we'll do that 2 more times. We now have 6 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 6 loops on our hook. And you notice how I just pull on the yarn a little bit to tighten it up. Okay, the next stitch we're going to do is a beginning triple 3 double treble cluster, which means we're going to work the first portion of that. The first portion of the cluster, or the first petal, is going to be right in the top of the stitch we just worked. Then the second leg or petal will be worked in the same stitch we worked the previous leg of the last cluster, and then we'll skip 4 stitches and work the 3rd section in that next stitch. So let me show you what that looks like. We're going to chain 5. Now work 2 legs of that cluster in this stitch right here. So yarn over 3 times, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, through 2, and through 2. And we'll do that one more time. Okay, and we'll work the next portion of this cluster into the same stitch that we worked the last leg of the last cluster stitch. So yarn over 3 times, insert your hook in that same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, through 2, and through 2. And we'll do that 2 more times in that same stitch. And then we're going to skip the next 4 stitches, and in the next stitch work 3 more clusters. Yarn over 3 times, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and do that 2 more times. We should have 9 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 9 loops on your hook, and then pull to tighten. So now we had 2 petals on our first stitch and we have 3 petals on our second stitch. And you'll notice when looking in the chart, it looks a lot like it does in the chart. The anatomy of the stitches is the same. And so for the remainder of this row, we're going to repeat that beginning triple 3 double treble cluster across the row. This is what the end of the first row of petals should look like. And now we'll come back to our chart, and you can see that we have to offset things a little bit. So we have to start with a special stitch. So we're going to start with a beginning 3 double treble cluster, and then we'll be able to do our regular triple treble cluster across the row. And then we'll end it with a beginning double 3 double treble cluster. So let's start with that first stitch, which is a chain 5. Turn our work and work yarn over 3 times, insert your hook into the top of the last stitch worked, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, through 2, and through 2, and do that one more time. Should have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. So we have that singular petal sitting out there, but now we're up here and we're positioned to do a 3 petal stitch. So we'll chain 5, work 2 portions of our cluster into the top of the last stitch worked. Then we'll work 3 more into the same stitch that the last leg of the last stitch was worked in. Okay, and now the third leg will be worked in the next stitch. So this is the equivalent of skipping those 4 stitches on the row below, but now we just work into the separate stitches. So yarn over 3 times, insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, through 2, and through 2, and do that 2 more times. We now have 9 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 9 loops. And so we've now done that same stitch that we did across the entire last row. So you want to repeat this 3 petal flower across to the last stitch. Okay, we've worked our 3 petal stitches across the row, so we're going to end the row with a 2 petal stitch. Okay, so we start with a chain 5. Yarn over 3 times, insert your hook into the top of the last stitch worked. Do that a second time. And now we'll work the next 3 clusters into the same stitch that we worked the last leg of the last stitch. So we now have 6 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 6. And you'll see that that perfectly matches that same row on the chart. You could do this stitch in any number of applications. It's absolutely stunning as a collar, but it would be beautiful as an overall stitch pattern for a shawl, a scarf, a blanket. Be beautiful for so many different things. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions for me, please leave them for me in the comments. And there's links to everything we talked about today, from the yarn, the pattern, the book, and everything else in the video description below. Let us make time to create, share, and inspire today and every day. I'll see you in the next video.